Yes, so we have in September of 2023, I want to say, we implemented the customer experience office. So we did a reorg and implemented that new office. And in the past year, our customer experience office has been doing journey mapping as a service, which is really new. And so we go to our client sites, like could be like Texas Workforce Commission, and do a journey mapping as a service exercise with them. So we walk through, what does the persona look like? What does that journey look like for that particular persona? What are the pain points? What is that customer feeling throughout that process? And the purpose of that is not only to understand who your customers are, but how they're engaging with your product or service and identifying those areas that need improvement, because we would love it to be a good, like, happy experience all the way through. Yeah, so what I recommend, or what I consult my customers on, is if you're doing any kind of a development project, or even a system implementation, like a SaaS implementation or something, the whole project plan should include digital accessibility. So when you're doing your project planning, understanding what those digital accessibility requirements are up front. So what are those needs are, identifying those specific areas that are going to be the most impacted. So doing kind of that early risk assessment of, what is the probability that this is going to be an issue? What is the impact going to be to the users? And then if it's a development project, during each stage of development, those iterative cycles, doing some kind of testing for accessibility during those points and not leaving it till the very end. So you want to do those corrections as you go. And that way, when you get to the end of the development, you can do one more big accessibility test. Hopefully there's very few errors at that point. But you also want to test for usability. So you want to bring in maybe a third-party tester, test with assistive technology, to make sure that that product that you think you made accessible is actually usable with that technology. So integrating it all the way through, from the design, from the planning stages, all the way through to the back end, will save your project time, so early or on-time delivery, and will reduce project costs, because then you won't have to go out and expend for additional testing or additional fixes and all of that. Really to focus on the human, to focus on the user. So understanding, again, gathering that information to understand who your users are, what their needs are, how are they engaging with your services or your products, doing that front end work. And then kind of working through, like I said, that journey mapping exercise to make sure, back to that usability, is your product or your service that you're engaging your customers with, is it working the way it's supposed to work? Or could it be working more efficiently? Or are you leaving any customers out? From a disability standpoint, 25% of the population has some kind of disability. And of that 25%, that 25% subset is probably neurodivergent, so some kind of cognitive disability. So are we taking that into consideration as we develop our services, or as we put a product out there like a website? Are we understanding what those needs are from our customers? Oh, that's a good question. So I don't work with the vendors too much on like specific engagements, but just from a strategic standpoint, that private-public partnership, I think it's really critical for our vendors to understand what our compliance needs are, where our cost savings need to happen, and then, helping us achieve those compliance needs, or working within a specific budget. We don't build our own technology anymore. It's very rare that we do any kind of development within a state agency, let's say. So we're looking out to the private sector to provide us with products that we need that work the best way that they can work. So like for digital accessibility, I'm looking for vendors who are actually designing accessible technology, testing their technology to make sure it's accessible and usable, and then providing that technology and any supporting documentation for it to my agency or to my customer agencies, because that's what they need to continue carrying out their mission and also to carry it out in a compliant way. Yeah, you know what I like most about it is number one, getting to learn what other folks are doing, and I think that's probably where the most value comes from attending these events, because again, private-public partnership, we rely on the private sector to sponsor these events so that public employees can come to them. It's very hard for some agencies to provide training for their staff. They just have very limited resources. So events like this may be the one opportunity for a state employee to get out and network and learn and collaborate with their peers. And I feel like that collaboration piece, that knowledge sharing piece that happens at events like this, helps us all move at the same pace. So we're not leaving really anyone behind. We're creating those opportunities for all of us to learn together, share ideas, come up with new ideas, and then move along at the same pace.